Do you know where this is?
Yes, this is in Vienna.
Okay.
Yes, and very interesting is the lack of cars. They all seem to go by streetcar, you see.
What year
And,
is this?
This is 1938. And here, this is interesting because there are very few cars. People are on bicycle, or they're walking, or they're using the streetcar. But other than that, this is a bread man, and he has bread in the back of his basket on his bicycle, and there's nothing covering the bread. It's just a loaf of bread.
And that's your mother.
And that's my mother, yeah. And what's interesting to me is that all of the bread is delivered every day by people on bicycles, you see. And this man has the bread that he's seen a look. And that's called the black bread. And just one loaf, usually a 2-pound loaf, which my mother's having fun with. But that's interesting. Interesting, too, is the fact that the birds are very friendly, and they'll come right over. The chipmunks, squirrels will come right over and climb up and wait for you to feed them. That doesn't seem to be in this country, but over there, over the years, they've become friendly. This is called a chimney sweep, and they have to get their chimneys cleaned out of the soft coal. And so there are quite a few of these. That's my father in the background who's coming up. But there's so many of these chimney sweeps. That's cobblestone, of course, there. And the other interesting thing is the fact that everybody seems to be having on the back something that they're carrying, see. These people are coming out of the local forest, bringing some of their firewood that they can go ahead and cook with. So that's all they're doing, bringing enough wood maybe to last the day. Yeah.
Look at that.
See how many of them. Here's a little old lady here. There we are, walking
Oh,
ahead.
there you are.
There we are. But it's surprising the number of people that are actually...
Oh, my.
Here's the bag lady. But to me, it's interesting to see how many people are carrying things. These dogs now evidently have muscles on them, but they seem to be vagrant dogs. But they seem to be all over. There are a lot of dogs, I know. These are called the dachshund. 2 dogs long and a half a dog high. And they're very, very friendly, but all of them seem to have muzzles, because I think they're required by law, I guess, to have muzzles on them, see? And people do love their animals. So here seems to be a loner, see? Looking for a friend. That's my father right behind there, looking to see what's available. Now, this is right near Vienna. They have some hills there, and people will go and do a little bit of skiing. And so we went up there one day and did a little bit of skiing. And I'm going to show you that I know how to ski, and watch what happens. Yeah, now watch. This is kind of interesting to me. That I remember that my father was going to take a picture of us coming down this little hill. And I said, well, I think I'll do a pretty good job of it. Now watch. Now what do you see? There I am. So that's a picture of me on skis. I didn't do very well. But it's a very popular pastime for people right near Christmas time or during the winter months to go skiing a little bit, see? And usually it's easy skiing. There's nothing hard about it. Oh, this is a very important time. We didn't know that Hitler was going to be coming into Vienna, and they dropped leaflets from airplanes telling about his coming into Vienna. And they had this all figured out ahead of time. And so on certain days there, in March actually, when he started to come, they closed all of the stores and said there would be a 1-week vacation for everybody. You didn't have to work or anything. They just ordered that all of the stores be closed. Well, the Nazis took this opportunity while people were watching the parades. Hitler went back and forth several times all around the city, see, so they'd have different parade routes for Hitler. And now they're looking for him to come along this particular area. They put in the newspaper about what his schedule was going to be. But he was about a week in this area, covering Vienna, all over Vienna. They had him. See, now look at this is the Parliament building in Vienna, and they are waiting for him. They had announced that he was going to be coming. Well, you know, he didn't come exactly when he said he was going to come. And one time they had to tell the people, we're sorry, but he's not going to come until tomorrow. And yet they were already waiting for him to come. And that was a big disappointment. So he finally did show up the next day. And that's, to me, interesting, because you know what they were doing all this time? They were keeping track of where the Jewish had their stores, and they were padlocking the stores that were owned by the Jews. I don't know how they knew where all the Jewish stores were, but sure enough, when the Jews came back from watching the parade, they found that their stores had been closed. That to us was pretty sad. Why my father was able to do it, because they closed the university. They said while Hitler was in doing this in Vienna, they were going to close all of the stores and the university. So what did he do? Well, he said, well, I can't go back to class. He was taking a micro, I don't know what you call it, but anyway, he was studying microchemistry anyway, because all of the Austrians, Germans had very, very good telescopes and microscopes, and if you wanted to get a good education, you would go to Germany or go to Austria and go to their school and study microchemistry, see. Now these are the black shirts. This is part of Hitler's elite people that were protecting him when he came in. But what's amazing to me is the thousands of people that were not at home or not at their jobs. They were out waiting for Hitler to come. And they would make an announcement, finally said, well, he's not coming until tomorrow. But all the stores are closed, the university is closed, everything's closed because people are out waiting for him to come. To me, that was interesting because there was no reason for that to happen, and yet there they were, every couple of days. They were waiting for him to come, and he didn't come, and he didn't come. And yet they were showing the Nazi salute, you know. And little by little, they came in droves, you know, different groups of soldiers came. And boy, we saw so many of these parades of different soldiers that were coming from Germany. You know what they were getting ready to do? To take over Austria. And that's why on April 10th of 1938, they were going to have a plebiscite. That's a vote of the people to see whether they wanted to join again with Germany or to stay back. See, you know why they had a vote then was because Schuschnigg, a fellow by the name of Schuschnigg, he was in power, but he wasn't doing very well, and so they were going to have a plebiscite, a vote of the people, to see whether they wanted Hitler or wanted this fellow to come back. And that's when Hitler jumped at the chance to have his name on the ballot, if you can imagine that. And there was nobody else on the ballot, only Hitler's name. So when you went to vote, you put yes or no. That's all there was to it. So he had a 99% vote in his favor. And now they're still waiting for Hitler to come. I think this is amazing because it was a couple of days we thought that we didn't see him come. Didn't see him come. They would make an announcement, well, he's coming the next day. But he didn't come the next day. And yet they had closed all the stores. because they'd given the people a holiday. So the Nazis were able then to find out where the Jews had their stores and close them up. They really did close them too. Now, here comes Hitler. Now, where's my father? Well, he's taking a picture. See, in his camera, because he couldn't go back in the university, so he said, well, I'm going to go around and take pictures, which he did. So these are my father's pictures. And I think it's is astounding to the number of pictures that he was able to get. And these are all his pictures. And many of them nobody else had taken. And we will show you here in just a few scenes of how important his pictures were. My mother, at the same time, was making a diary of everything that she saw. And so, but look at the amount of armored vehicles coming in from Germany, just in case there was a problem, which, what was interesting, there was not a shot fired. Nobody seemed to be involved, that Hitler was going to be standing up in his car and nobody would shoot him. You know, with thousands of people, yet nobody shot him. And so he just went through and he raised his hand and saluted to everybody. And you're going to see him coming down this street. These are very good pictures, though, yeah. Now you watch. And my father got up very, very close. And by the way, my father had a special kind of a placard or something that he put that he was a university professor. And they kind of let him come and go and take pictures. Now look at this. Why would a man of that stature be able to come down the street and not have to worry about anybody taking a shot? And that could have prevented World War II. You know, it could have. But they just let him go. And my father was able to go into the courtyard because of he was a university professor and he had a camera. They let him come right up to where Hitler was going to be. This man is the spokesman for Germany. His name is, I'll think of it in a minute. What?
Goebbels?
Goebbels, yeah. No, that is not Goebbels, but he is the right-hand man to Hitler was Goebbels. And I'm trying to think of his name. Now, you know what this signifies? That's the pigeons that are homing pigeons are going back to Germany, telling the people in Germany that Austria is now becoming part of Austria again. I mean, Austria is going to be part of Greater Germany. And so that was very significant that they let all of these homing pigeons fly back to Germany. Now here is something fascinating to me, is here's Hitler finally coming out on his balcony of his hotel. And anybody could have shot him, but they didn't do it. Now, this to me is very significant. Any of the Jewish stores, while people were watching the parade, they were painting this Judah, which meant this is a Jewish store. And then they had Nazis that were positioned in front of the stores to keep people out. Or just say, if you're a Jew, yeah, you can go in. But if you're not a Jew, stay out. And there were hundreds of these stores that had Jew pasted, you know, or written. Now here's my mother that's coming along, and she said, well, I'm an American, and this is a store that I usually go ahead and buy things in. I think I'll just step in and see if I can go. And this says it is not an Aryan Geschäft. See, oh, this is very important. That's called the Jewish street. This Jewish street, while the Jews were watching the parade, the Nazis came along and they padlocked all of the Jewish stores. Now, when the Jews came back to their area, they have sort of like a ghetto of nothing but Jewish stores. Guess what they found? they found that their stores were completely closed up and they couldn't get, listen, this is so important. All of these are individual Jewish stores that they could not go back into. And my father had these pictures to prove it. Now, my mother's coming along and she says, well, I want to go in this store and to shop or something. And this is a Nazi. And he said, you are not permitted to go into that store. And she said, I'm an American. There's no reason why I can't. There's no way for me not to be able to go in. I am not a Nazi, you know what I mean? I'm not anything but just an American, and I want to go in. But you know what? They said, you can't go in. It's a Jewish store, and you can't go in. This is interesting. These are lines of people who are trying to get out of Vienna. They want to get a visa and somehow leave, but they weren't able to. In other words, they were waiting and waiting and waiting. This is nothing but like Girl Scouts or something, see? And these are girls that are Austrian, girls who are supporting Hitler. The young people seem to support Hitler. The older people, some of them were very knowledgeable. They knew about his Mein Kampf, and they did not go along with Hitler at all. And here's something interesting. All of these, this is so fascinating to me. They pulled up boys that said they wanted to go on this youth group here that were going back to Germany. And they would give them a free trip back to Germany, and so they would just go. And so they left their families. See what I mean? They wanted to go back. So the young people, a lot of them, we found them in these trucks that were taking them back to Germany for a free vacation, see? They get all expenses paid and get a chance to see Germany, their homeland. And so for Hitler, yes. See, why did they put these up? There it is. All of Austria is going to vote on the 10th of April. So make sure you put your yes down on the ballot. Now watch, my father takes a picture along here of all of these various signs. You'll see it's coming up. It's a very interesting group of signs, nothing but Hitler signs, you know. There, look at all of these. Usually there have something about the opera, something about the music, but no. They have pasted all of these things about Hitler. Now you're going to see something very interesting, and that's a sample ballot showing you where you're going to put your little yes. Now you watch. See, and watch this. This is very interesting. Now you watch very, very closely, and you're going to see a sample ballot. There it is, and there's where you put your yes. Nothing but Hitler, see? Usually that would be completely covered with movies that are going on or artistic things. This is interesting. All this is just an area in the street where as you go by there will be a Hitler, see? And then you go by and you can say hi Hitler as you go by, see? And that's what people are learning to do. That's interesting to me. But I think that's and they allowed him to go into the various places where Hitler was going to be and take close-ups. And you know why he was able to do it? Because it was a university professor. They were just telling that he wanted to get an account of what was happening, and they let him do it, see?
This is all still Vienna.
That's still Vienna, yeah, on the first part of April, see? And that to me is quite fascinating. And I don't know how he got up close, but he did. I don't know just where this is. I was not involved. I couldn't go along. See, this is what my father did. Right now, he just kind of, oh, this is a great big football field or something in Vienna, where they're going to show some of their mighty army, where they can go through and demonstrate to people just what they have in the way of armaments. So that's what they're doing here, a demonstration of their power. I know what they're doing here. They're getting ready to build a road that will connect Germany to Austria and Italy, do you see? And that's going to be their way of going down into Italy. Yeah, that's all they were doing. They were tearing down part of the forest to go ahead and provide the big super highways they were going to build. Now, I don't know what this is.
This is in Linz, it said.
Oh, Linz. Oh, yeah. He went to various cities in Austria and had parades there and had part of their army showing how important they were. But it's amazing. Look at these beautiful big cars. Yeah. Yeah, there they are. Yeah. And of course, the Austrians, a lot of them liked the idea of having Hitler come because he was going to unify Germany to include Austria once more. At one time, Austria was part of Germany, and now Hitler's going to come in and create a new Germany, including Austria. And isn't that a real close-up of Hitler?
Fabulous.
Look at that. And yet nobody shot him. No. No. And he wanted to kind of pretend that he was a lover of children, so he would have a chance to greet the little children. He was a heartwarmer, wasn't he? He loved the little children. He liked his idea of being the supreme ruler of Germany. No question about it.
Right.
And people certainly opened up arms to receive him with a lot of love. They really did. The young people were just crazy about him. And the elderly people were not. And they kind of figured that there was something that was going to happen. And something did happen too. Very shortly after this, of course, Germany went to war with Poland. I don't know how my father got all these pictures, but he certainly got a lot of them. More of the same, parades. Look how long some of these cars are. Yeah.
Marvelous.
Hard to believe. Of course, this, you said, was over in Linz. So just another opportunity to... My father could not go back into the university for a week or so. And I think he made some exchanges with some of these pictures with some of the other people, because he couldn't have been to all of these places taking these pictures. So here's that Goebbels. They said something funny about Goebbels, that he was always late for breakfast. Why was he late for breakfast? Trying to transfer all these medals from his pajamas to his uniform. So there he is. See, he liked this baton that he had. He liked his power. The number one man after Hitler, Joseph Goebbels. Yeah, these are good pictures. Boy, they're nice to have. And the Holocaust Museum has the main copies of all of them, plus my father's camera.
Oh.
Of course, I wasn't in on this. I couldn't go to any of these places. But my father was able to somehow do some kind of exchanges with some of the other, the other cameramen for maybe exchanging some of their film. I don't know, but he got a hold of them.
Fabulous.
From very good close-up shots. Yeah. Yeah. People just wanted a good look at them. Now here again is something they want to go by some kind of a commemoration of a place where maybe some Nazis died. I don't know. I don't remember this. I just remember that when you went by this place, you could go ahead and give a Nazi salute and go on by. That's an exchange of guards, I guess, in honor of this particular place. Do you know what it is? I don't know. But it does show that there's several of these places where you go by. Now here's where I come in. I am on a bike. We had bicycles, and so I went up and down here, and they're going to get a picture of me coming along, giving a Nazi salute at one of these places. See, now you'll see. You watch. This is kind of interesting. My father said, "Well, I want you to get on your bicycle, and when you go by here, you can give a salute." And there I am,
There you
right
are.
there. See? So there I was, giving a salute, just like all the others were. But I shouldn't have done that, but I did. You know, exchange of the guards someplace. You know. Yeah. So that's interesting. And of course they had the way of walking. The Nazis had a way of strutting, putting their leg out in front. It was just a Nazi walk. That's interesting. Children. Oh, this is fascinating. Young people. Now this is down in Rome. And they're honoring Hitler when he came down to Rome. So that's here the Berlitz School for Languages. So this is right here at the Colosseum in Rome, see? And they have it all decorated for the arrival of Hitler coming down to see Mussolini. And so here are the Roman soldiers. Look how well decked out they are. All of their headdress and the white gloves. But now we saw this. We were down there. We could go out on the street and watch the parades, and we would see Mussolini too. So you're going to watch here and see Mussolini. Just a little glimpse of it. Look at that headdress. And then they came with their special things that they wanted dressed up in to honor Mussolini and Hitler when they were together. They'll have their special costumes in the various areas of Italy. It's interesting. Do you see all the flags? Everything decorated for when Hitler and Mussolini would be parading together right in the center of Rome. Now you'll see. My father found out when Hitler and Mussolini would be parading and was able to get down and get pictures. Well, that's the Colosseum. And you've been there. Yes. I think the thing that really surprises me is how quickly they could get all of this together, knowing that Hitler and Mussolini would be coming down. But they probably had it pretty well planned in advance. It was going to be about the first part of May of 1938. And my father was able to go down there to go to a special meeting of scientists who were against the war. And that's a proliferation of atomic weapons. And so he had a special visit with the Pope and some other interested scientists to try to get the whole Pope to issue a proclamation that the Catholic Church would not promote, nuclear weapons. And you know what? The Pope was very much in favor of it, but it didn't get too far. This is interesting. Very young Italian soldiers with their little guns. But there they are. Look how small some of them are. But there they are. Like Boy Scouts. So these are Hitler Scouts or Mussolini Scouts. But isn't that interesting? Very young boys. Getting them prepared. Here's some of the older ones. Gee. Massive crowds. All waiting for Mussolini and Hitler to make their entrance, which is coming now very quickly. In fact, it happened so fast. This is one of their grounds where they do their, what would you call it?
Maneuvers?
They're just showing off their equipment, and people come and go and watch and see what's happening. So they had much of their military equipment and everything up on this field on a certain day. Look at them, thousands of soldiers in this one field. Thousands and thousands. How did they get them all lined up to be able to do that? I don't know. Well planned. Now, here it is. They were now going to await the arrival of Mussolini and Hitler. What is sad about this is it happened so fast that my father had his camera ready, and all you could do was get a glimpse of who they were. Do you see? See, now look in here and you can kind of see as they go by. There's Hitler. That was Hitler, see? And then in another car, there was Mussolini, see? But this happened so fast. There he is. He was in there. So we got a glimpse of Mussolini and Hitler, but it happened so fast. That was the only thing he could do. He just held his camera up there. Just kind of interesting how they carry their bread or carry other things, see. Very few cars. It's mostly autobuses and streetcars. And people on bicycle. Yeah. So what do the people do here? They probably had a vacation for a couple of days while Mussolini and Hitler got together. But that was not a very good pact. I mean, actually, the Italians didn't like the Germans especially, So it didn't work out too well. So I know that. And I think the Italians generally during the war liked us better than they liked the Germans. That I know for a fact.
Boy, there's a lot.
They didn't make very good soldiers, actually, during the war. They just didn't. I think generally the Italians were peace-loving people.